gratified that so many people came to see this movie. It has certainly not been long enough since this was released 3 years ago for it to have this kind of place in the Canadian canon, and so I'm going to milk it for all it's worth. In 4 years, this film will be completely forgotten. I'm not sure if we did them, but if you guys haven't seen the posters that the theater made for this movie, they're really remarkable. I think they're cartoons from a woman, and I don't know her name. What's the artist's name? Is somebody from the theater here who knows? I should give the artist credit, but I don't know. Anyway, they're in the lobby and I signed them all, and I think they only have like 15 of them. And I think that's all they're ever gonna make. I tried to give them like little Canada messages on them. This one says, "Just 'cause it's for Canada."
Oh.
Do you guys know that quote?
Yes.
Jay says it in the Mandarin, when you think he overeats. Anyway, does somebody want this one? I was gonna have a competition, but maybe I can ask. Did anybody know what that quote was from? You did? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thanks, Zach. Thank you.
You know what? I rarely get to introduce this film, so I will tell you an unknown story, which is the origin of this movie, BlackBerry. It's not what you think. A friend of mine, Steve Hamlin, had given me a book called Masters of Doom. Does anybody know this book? It's the history of id Software, which was John Carmack and John Romero, who had basically invented the 3D engine and really the game Wolfenstein, and then Doom, and then Quake. And these were the like shareware type of games that I had really grown up on. And he read the book and he was like, "You would love this." And I read this book and it blew my mind. I was like, oh, this is exactly what it was like for me when I was making movies, specifically the Dirties. And I was so captivated by it. And at the time that I was reading it, I got asked by the CBC and producer Neve Fishman if I would write with my producer Matt Miller I think it was a television series at the time about BlackBerry. And I really didn't know anything about BlackBerry. I wasn't really interested in that kind of technology, but I, at the same time, was reading this book about video game design. And I was like, oh, maybe I can make BlackBerry and the staff there act like the video game designers in this book. And I did, and nobody stopped me. And to this day, I can't believe that we were able to release a movie about this Canadian company that is really like the story of an American video game development company from the 80s. And so when you watch this film, like look, especially the very first half when it's like the nascent company and my character has more to say, I'm sort of playing like a John Romero. But you guys know who John Romero is?
Yes.
He's, if you don't know, he's like a legendary, almost like, video game design is so funny. It's like John Carmack is really the whiz kid. He's kind of like the Mike Lazaridis of the company. He's the person who kind of nuts and bolts program. So,
no worries.
I'm not getting choked up. I'm not crying over the history of John Carmack and software. But the difference between them is that one was really sort of the creative genius and the other one was really sort of the engineering and design genius. And it really did change the world. Like video games that as they exist now really they all stem from what those guys did. And I kind of wanted to capture that same conflict between two young friends who'd been friends forever and had the same dream, but then success kind of gets in the way, which really is the story of it. And I've been accused because people were watching this movie, and I think there's obviously people who love this company. And my character, I gave lots of subtle nods to this throughout the entire movie. I was trying to let people know what I was doing. And so at one point, Doug tells Jim that they should go try to hire John Carmack but I say from ID, and people are like, it's not ID, it's it. But I will tell you the truth. If you read the book, you'll realize that early days, they called themselves ID because it stood for in demand, because everybody wanted to work with these guys so badly when they were doing shareware programming. I think for, does everybody remember? Is it Acclaim? Who were they programming games for? Am I the only person here? Do you guys not care at all?
No,
I'll move on.
I just don't know.
It was Apogee, thank God. Yes, it was Apogee, and because everybody wanted these guys who worked at Apogee to come program games for them, they referred to themselves as an in-demand ID, and then later became id. Anyway, I never really gotten a chance to tell that story for legal reasons, and so I thought maybe you guys would be interested. I think that Canada views this film as like as a Canadian story, mostly because it becomes such a failure, and I don't mean that negatively. There's something about it that, well, I'll just say this: the number one thing I would hear at film festivals or when I would travel with this movie, or even now when I meet Americans, they know I made this movie, the number one thing they say is, oh, I had no idea BlackBerry was Canadian. And so even though this is the story of arrogance and people where the friendship basically destroys the product and they all are left with essentially nothing, there's something I'm very proud of that I think we can all be proud of. That what's that line from Pirates of the Caribbean? When Jack first gets off the boat and the captain meets him, he's like, oh yeah, I know you, Captain Jack Sparrow, you're scum, awful, whatever, trash, blah, blah, blah. And then he goes, but you have heard of me. And that's how I feel about our country, which is that people can think like we're a joke or whatever, but you have heard of us. So please enjoy the film, and I thank you so much for coming. Goodbye.